All right. Hey,
Okay, I think we're good. Yep. All right. So, wow. Okay. It's so
nice to
great
see
to,
you.
yeah, great to finally meet you, sir. Yeah. So, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. Yeah. It's been a lovely day here. Bit cold, but you know, sunny,
Oh, it's been
nice,
funny.
pretty spring day.
Yeah.
We have proper seasons here.
You're in UK, right?
Yeah. I mean, oh, hang on. I'll just turn your volume up a bit. Yeah. I'm in the UK. I'm in the east of the country.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm in the east of my country as well, in Florida.
I know.
So, have you been to Florida or?
I uh I think I did visit Florida very briefly a long time ago. I can't remember the city I visited. Oh, that's strange, isn't it? You'd think I'd know. Well,
Do you?
I did a theatre tour about 30. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
Um, I did a theatre tour, and I think we played at the university there, but I'm not exactly sure. But no, I've never sort of, you know, gone down to the beach and or been to the Keys or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Uh, no.
By the way, pardon my glasses. I have super light sensitive eyes, so
Okay.
into the screen bothers me, and then all these lights around me
Hey, you look kind of cool though. You look like Lawrence Fishburne or something.
look like Morpheus, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, every film set I go on now, that's what they call me.
I should get some shades as well, just so I don't feel outdone by you.
Yeah, we need to make this a theme because when I interviewed Joseph Milson, that's what he did. He had some glasses on. He's like, "Oh, you're wearing glasses, so I'm gonna wear glasses." But he just keep them on.
I
So,
don't think I will. But anyway, hi. So, what do you want to know about?
well, I have a few questions of my own, and then I put a post in the group asking if anyone had any questions for you as well. So
Mhm.
I I will look for that post as you answer this question, which is when did you first hear about the Last Kingdom?
Well, when they asked me to do it, so when was that? I suppose it must have been 2020, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so I got an invitation to. They said, do you want to come and play this role? They didn't really know exactly what it was going to be at that point. So that was in season three.
So
And they
you
said,
just got a, I'm sorry, you just got a call out of the blue type of thing?
yeah, kind of, yeah. And they just said, there's this role. If you want to do it, that would be we'd be love we'd love to have you. And we don't know how far the character's going to go, but there'll be at least 3 episodes in this season, and we'll just see what happens from there. I
Wow.
think there were five. I think I did 5 episodes in season three, and then obviously it carried on from there. So,
Wow. So they were thinking three, and then look what happened.
well, no, I think it's just the way these shows are made is they haven't got the whole thing planned from the beginning, and even once the the season's up and running, they've probably got a scheme that goes through to the end, but there's lots of things that can change.
Mhm.
So, if they decide it'd be more fun to kill you, they'll kill you. Or if they just don't go that if they just don't think the character arc is interesting enough or whatever, then you'll sort of get just sort of ushered out the side. But obviously they thought it was good to pursue, so it carried on.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's also just producers, you know, playing their cards close to their chest, not giving too much away at the beginning.
Sure, sure.
But it turned into quite a. I mean, certainly in season five, it
Right.
was great.
So you really obviously you just weren't a fan prior to being on the show. So
I just didn't know it. I hadn't avoided it. I think I was quite into Vikings at
oh really?
the time. So, then it was Vikings, and oh, there's this other one. Um, and it was quite a different show, I think, because the initial 2 seasons were produced by the BBC, and I think just with Carnival, but with BBC, and then Netflix wanted to put it on their platform, and then became involved as producers, and the BBC bowed out, or probably the BBC couldn't match the money or something. I don't know, but so I mean that's a guess. Don't get lawyers involved.
I
But
wonder if it, I wonder if it would have been more successful if it had remained in the BBC, or
I don't really think so. I mean, the BBC. I don't think BBC's got the same reach for that kind of, or it certainly didn't then. I mean, the iPlayer platform now is very big, but it's got limitations worldwide, which with licensing and stuff, which Netflix really doesn't. So I think, I mean, it was a very big show on Netflix. I mean, it was one of the most watched shows ever. I think, there certainly was a time when it was the biggest show they'd ever done. So, but no, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't like it. I just didn't know about it. So, but as soon as I, was aware of what it was, I went back and watched the first 2 seasons. I loved it. So,
right? So, how did you prepare for the role?
oh, that's one of those questions that comes around. Really, the most important thing with any role is just the script. You an actor's job is always pretty much the same, that you're making sense of the beliefs and the desires of the character that you're playing. I mean, that's always what you do. So a character has certain desires. They want to be king, they want to sleep with someone, they want to kill someone, whatever it is. And then they have their beliefs about how the world works. So when you take your desire and your beliefs, that gives you an action. Right. Because obviously, if your beliefs are different, you'll behave differently. Yeah. And I mean beliefs in the broadest sense. I mean, it may be your religious beliefs, but it may be just what you know about the world. So if you want to kill somebody and you know where you can get poison, then you go and get the poison to kill them with. Yeah. Right. Or you go and get your big double-headed axe. Or if you're a little guy and the guy that you want to kill is a big guy, then you go and get a big guy to do it for you. It's always that. So preparation is mostly to do with trying to understand the sort of person that you are, what this person actually believes about the world, and trying to work out what they want from it. And then that tells you what to do. Yeah. And bearing in mind that a lot of what you do is already there in the script, you've got to make that fit. So you find that combination of belief and desire and action. Right. So that's what you do with every script. In terms of the particular time period, I suppose you've got to get yourself into a mindset of a very male-dominated society, a society where most people have quite strong religious beliefs, whatever they might be, and take those very seriously. And people that basically do believe in magic as well, they believe in fate, they believe in destiny, and they believe in aristocracy. And I think that's a very big part for Aethelhelm, that his aristocratic blood gives him certain rights in the world. Right. So he has every right to expect his grandchildren to be able to be kings. That's comes with the territory. Right. So that sort of thing. You keep just feeding these things in. I think it became very clear very early on that he sees most things as sort of bargain that you're making, either with Alfred or, you know, with your conscience or with God or whatever. But he's a man who makes bargains. And very pragmatic about it. So yeah, those are the sort of things I was thinking about.
Now, I don't recall there being mention of your character having a wife, but was he supposedly married or?
Well, he would have been married, yeah. I mean, he only has the one child, and it's a girl. It's possible that he's older by that point, and maybe he can't have any more children or whatever. I mean, there were a lot of women that were lost in childbirth, and a lot of children that were lost when they were young. So it's not completely clear. It's not mentioned in the script, but it seems that the way the only immortality that you get on this earth is through your family, through your line. So his daughter is very precious to him, but not as someone to love, but as someone to, as it were, produce heirs for him, so that to get his grandchildren, you know, onto the throne of England. So yeah, I mean, I think that my feeling was that the mother had died, and that was probably when Aethelflaed was born. Alfred, sorry, and in a way that means she owes me. But I think she'd owe me anyway. It means she's just a girl in his world.
So did you kind of or in general, do you kind of internalize your characters a little bit, or is that kind of every actor that does that?
Yeah, I think you have to. And you know, you can't. You know, every aspect of what you do is not written down. You've got to do it on the day, and it's not you; it's somebody else. So, yeah, you have to do that. Yeah, yeah.
That because I was noticing just now with Yep that sometimes he would refer to Heston as Heston, sometimes he would refer to Heston as, you know, and then you just did that right now. So,
Yeah.
so
I didn't even notice. Yeah, it's a sort of habit. I mean, sometimes some directors don't like you to talk about the character in the third person. They prefer you to just say, "I want to do this," or "I want this," or "I want that."
right.
But I mean, you know, I think that some actors are more strict with themselves about this sort of thing. For me, you know, I can jump out and look from the outside, or jump back in again. But there are people who really just want to remain in character for all the time that they're concerned with the character and playing the character.
Have you ever done that?
Um, it's preferable. It depends on the kind of character. If they're somebody who's very, very different from you, I mean, sort of physically different or whatever, then it's a bit easier to stay there. I mean, there's a very fine actor here called David Suchet, who famously played Hercule Poirot. Done series and seasons and seasons and seasons of Hercule Poirot, the Agatha Christie character, who's a Belgian detective. And he's also a producer on his own show, but famously, when he's on set, he never comes out of character. So when people speak to him, he answers them in their voice like this all the time. And he just says, I know it's a bit silly, but I just find it easier to work that way. So, you know, whatever makes it work, I think, for people is all that really matters.
Right. Yeah, I have a lot more respect for acting now that I'm making films and stuff, myself. It's not, not that I didn't before, but it's just like, all the more respect because yeah, it's definitely hard.
Well, it is hard, and don't forget you've got to repeat what you do, quite a few times for all the different shots and so on, and maybe for additional takes on any particular shot. Um, and there are plenty of things to distract you. I mean, just the amount of crew that's on the set, and the amount of, I mean, people obviously are respectful of the process and try not to. Certainly wouldn't want to, distract anybody, but you need to find ways of being very secure in what you're doing, because without it, it's just going to. There's just too much. You're not really. It's not real,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an awful lot of stuff around you to remind you that it's not real. Just cameras and lights, and people dressed in modern clothes or picking their noses or whatever it might be. So
So did acting come natural for you, or did it take you a while?
Well, I did a university degree. I've earned a degree in philosophy for my sins. Um, but yeah, it was something that I'd always very much enjoyed doing on an amateur level or a student level, and I was very determined just to sort of carry on. So I did, I didn't do any formal training, but you know,
How'd you do your
uh,
first film?
when
How? Like how and when?
I can't really remember when. It was a long time ago. Um, well, I mean, I started off doing theatre, so I did a lot of theatre when I was at university, and myself and some friends formed a small theatre company, um, and we actually toured in the States with that theatre company all those years ago. And the things sort of just grew from there. So the next thing that you really need is an agent. So I managed to. Then I got a job at a theatre in West London called the Lyric Hammersmith. I did um, an unusual German play there in English, but a German play. And I got an agent out of that, and then things moved from there. That's sort of then the agent's doing the work, and then eventually television turns up, and then eventually a film turns up, and so on. So it's a process. It's not. I mean, some people I think suddenly burst into the scene and it's all brilliant. For most of us, you do your apprenticeship. It takes a bit of a while. You work at different levels, and things hopefully progress and continue to progress.
How do you know when it's time to get an agent, do you think?
Oh, you have to have an agent, really. I mean, I'm sure I'd be fairly confident it's the same in the States as it is here. I mean, it's essentially there's a network of people who are employed to look for actors to be in projects of one sort or another, who are the casting agents. And then there are a network of people who look after the talent, who are agents, and they talk to each other. And that's how the jobs appear.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you probably can, if you're terribly well organized and know how to find out what's going on, you can maybe do it yourself, but it would be an awful lot of extra work. And there's a very important aspect to the whole. There's producers over here, and they have casting agents, and then there's actors over here, and they have their talent agents, and the agents do the talking. So even if there's quite a sort of feisty negotiation about getting the money right or whatever it is, the producers and directors and the actors are kept away from that. So by the time it's all resolved and you're all in a room together or on a set together, they haven't had to worry about any of the business, which can muddy the waters a bit. So we
Right.
let the agents do the fighting, and we just do the acting bit, the making of the
Mhm.
project.
That makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah, it's quite good insulation because potentially, you know, it could be quite difficult negotiations, and you don't really want to be directly involved in that.
it's like with real estate, being a real estate agent or a broker, having that
Yeah.
middle person. Yeah. Um, Boy, something you said got me thinking, and I'm good at losing my train of thought because there's so many things I'm thinking about. Um, but Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, like, how do you know when you have like a good agent or a bad agent?
Well, I mean, well, you know who the agents. I mean, the agents have reputations anyway, and also it just depends on whether they're getting you the work, I suppose. But you can have a good agent who's not getting you work, and you can have a bad agent who, well, a not so good agent who manages to find work for you. So it's really a question of whether you work well together.
Mhm.
Um, Most people that have been in the business for a long time, whether they're agents or actors or directors or whatever, you know, they've got some chops or they wouldn't be there. So I don't think there's really such a thing as a bad agent. I mean, if they were a bad agent, they wouldn't be getting anybody any work and they wouldn't be an agent for very long because they wouldn't be able to pay their bills. So, you know, as a general rule, I think it's more a question of the chemistry between you and the people that represent you.
Okay. So it's about the chemistry and the amount of work basically that they're getting you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, they can get you meetings for stuff and you just don't get the jobs. I mean, that also happens.
So
You know what I
basically
mean?
meetings. It's about chemistry and the meetings that they are able to set
Yeah,
up.
yeah. You want them to you I suppose you want them to be uh suggesting you and getting you seen for the sort of things that you want to do that you think are suitable for you. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. Appreciate that. I was just curious. I'm not trying to be an actor or anything, but just being in filmmaking now is just type of questions I think about these days. So, um,
Okay.
um, now, somebody had asked. I accidentally deleted the thread that where I posted what the questions people had for you. Um,
Oh well. Never
um,
mind.
but I remember one of them was like something like, how do you feel about playing such a bad character or something like that?
Oh well, I mean it's kind of great, really.
Yeah.
Um, I think the thing about a character like Aethelhelm is, and particularly at the end, particularly in season 5, but he's a kind of playmaker. So the stuff he does sets up the problems that everybody else has to solve. And if you think about season 5, without Aethelhelm, there wouldn't be a story. I mean, he everybody's basically trying to put out the fires that he keeps starting
Right.
all the way through that season. I mean, it's not the only story, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of the main themes of the season. And also, it's, you know, you don't really stand in judgment over characters saying they. I mean, you know, he's really not terribly different from anybody else in the Last Kingdom in terms of, you know, he wants power, he wants to consolidate, he wants to be rich, he wants to consolidate his power, he wants to have a legacy, and he'll do pretty much anything to make sure he gets what he wants. But most of the other characters are much the same. The ways they choose to do it may be a little bit different. But you know, if you think, I think someone did a count up that, you know, Uhtred has, in the course of the 5 seasons, has killed something like 200 people himself. You know,
Right.
but we all love Uhtred. Now, Ethelhelm's probably contributed to the deaths of maybe as many,
Uh-huh.
but probably not even as many. I mean, unless you count the sort of the big battles at the end. But and yet, what are we judging these people on? What whether we like them or what they do.
That's such a
Because if
good
in
point.
terms of what they do, I don't think Aethelhelm's any worse than anybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
But there is a. But I mean, so I don't really. Also, it doesn't help you as an actor to go to judge your character in terms of their moral outlook. You don't go, oh, he's evil, because you know that's being evil isn't wanting something unless you just want to destroy the world and create chaos. But he doesn't want that. What he wants is to put his grandson on the throne of England. So it's just the way he goes about it.
Right.
But he's a problem solver, and he's a plotter. So he looks out for how, looks at the lay of the land and asks himself whether it's serving what he wants, and if it isn't, then he tries to change it. So, and that's quite good fun. I mean, it's interesting, it's intelligent, So I mean, it's good. I feel good about playing an intelligent character. I don't feel bad about playing an immoral character.
Yeah, definitely very, different perspective like than average person would probably think, and the way the story's sort of directing you to think. But yeah, that's really good points, about that. And I have thought about that, and there has been some chatter in the group about how, Uhtred's really pretty, kind of an asshole, like yeah, we
Yeah,
still love him,
Then all his women die.
Yeah.
Don't go out. Don't go on a date with Uhtred. It's a death sentence.
For you, how hectic was the shooting schedule?
Well, it changes a lot. It depends. Sometimes it depends on the episode, and it depends because so the shooting schedule. It's always done by location. Okay, so essentially what they do is they organize the series is broken up into 3 or 4 blocks of episodes. Yeah, so you'd have 2 episodes, 3 episodes, whatever it is to make up the. Or I think usually it was 3 lots of 3 episodes and 1 lot of 2 episodes to get to the number, something like that. And then in each of those blocks, you're shooting 2 or 3 episodes simultaneously. Yeah. And in order to minimize costs, they'll say, right, if we're shooting all the stuff in, Winchester, and we've got scenes in Winchester in all 3 episodes, then we'll probably try and shoot those over a period of days altogether. Yeah. So if you happen to be in all the Winchester scenes, then you're going to be very busy over that week or 10 days or whatever it is. Yeah. So it can go from being really hectic to starting every day at 4:30 in the morning and finishing at 9, or you can just be sitting in your apartment, learning your lines for the next bit. So, it's both. It depends how much you're in, depends how much you've got to do, and it depends how they've scheduled the scenes. And they also, of course, they try not to give any individual too much to do on a given day, because it's difficult to produce, to really have your head in all that stuff all day long. If you've got to speak a lot and there's a lot of action or whatever, then that's quite hard to do.
Yeah.
The schedule in the last season was pretty minimal. Mine was pretty heavy, but his was much more in like season 3 and 4. So it just changes. Mostly Alex was, of course, always incredibly busy. Also directing in that last season, and very well too.
Yeah, that's something we were just talking about too, like that he was just kind of nonstop. And then, as you mentioned, he basically he directed most of season 5 or all of it?
No. He directed the second episode, just 1 episode.
Okay.
Usually you have So you have a director per block. Yeah, that's usually how they do it. So, and the director may do one or two blocks, or do one and then come back or whatever. But it's usually one director for each load of 3 episodes. And with the first block, there were 3 episodes, and Alex directed the second episode. But the director, because he's not, this was his first, proper directing job, and it's a big responsibility. It's very expensive to run a film set. I mean, I don't know what the costs were there, but you got to think that with a big show like that, it's not going to be less than $100,000 a day just to keep the thing running.
Yeah.
So you've got to get it right. You can't. And the most precious thing on a film set is time.
Right.
So I'm sure you've seen this from the work that you're doing yourself, but essentially what a producer has to decide is how many minutes you want to get of a finished article you want to get out of any one day. Yeah. And that will go from on soap operas where they have to churn the stuff out really quickly. They could be shooting to try and make 25 or 30 minutes a day. Yeah. But if you're doing a Marvel movie, it's probably only 1 or 2 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes a Marvel movie really expensive.
Right.
Because it's costing you more to run the set and you're getting less out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff was saying how he estimated they were doing roughly 5 or 10 minutes a day. Do you think?
I think sometimes, again, that depends on what you're shooting. So, I mean, if you're doing scenes, if you've got a big scene with lots of people sitting around talking, and once you've got the scene established and the scene's quite long, then yeah, that would maybe get 5 minutes. I don't think you get much more. But if you're doing stuff with stunts and battles and so on, the setups just to get set up for the shots takes a very, very long time. And you're probably only going to use, there's just that bit where the horse rears up, or somebody gets the head chopped off or something, that. And it takes ages and ages and ages to get that. And it's only a few seconds on film. So in the final thing. So there's a big change, but there's a big difference from day to day. But I wouldn't have thought they were often getting more than 5 minutes out of a day.
Yeah, I was really surprised when he said that. I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot to get done.
It is a lot. I mean, there's one big scene that I did when I first met the King of Scotland, Constantine, King of Scotland. And that was about a 4-page scene. So that's about 4 minutes. A page is about a minute usually. And I'm pretty sure that was the only thing we shot that day. I mean, they might have shot some smaller scenes either side, I suppose, but it just takes that long.
So I apologize. It looks like my partner has me on the free Zoom account, which is gonna expire in about 5 minutes.
Okay, well, look, if you're not in a terrible rush to do it, it's just that next week I'm going to be I mean, we could maybe do it over the weekend before, if you want. But I'm going to be away next week. I've got to go up to Scotland to do some bits and pieces, family stuff.
Anytime, really, if it's sometime this month, even if it's not next week, I'm happy.
Okay.
So, it's just, I'm just glad to, just be here, period, like talking with you. It's so amazing. Like, but I'm also frustrated because, my plans, best laid plans type of thing, and then like, yeah, so I was tempted to just put it off again until I could, get my other partner with his account, everything set up the way it was. But I didn't want to do that again. So I just
Okay.
want to at least get something, a chance to chat with you for a little while today. And I know it's late there, so
Yeah,
um,
it is getting. It is. It's nearly 10. So, all right. Well, look. Let's compare diaries and try and fix something for maybe 10 days from now or something like that. So
yeah,
I've got.
absolutely, that'd be great.
Okay. We'll do that.
Well, again, I appreciate so much, sir, and it was great chatting with you, and I look forward
Very
to.
nice to meet you, Brian.
So, all right, have a great night.
Okay. You too. Thank you. All
All right,
right.
bye.
See you now.